David is a friend and longtime colleague from our time together in higher education. He was also my coach, and I am forever grateful. He is first and foremost a dynamic and courageous individual, a former mountain climber and current jiu-jitsu aficionado and coach, loving husband and father. He brings these qualities to his work with leaders and coaching them towards professional and personal advancement, growth, and development. David holds master's degrees in business and engineering. He's a professional certified coach, coactive professional certified coach, and certified disc practitioner. So David, welcome.
Thank you, Lily. Well, it's just a delight to be with you.
So David, I was curious if you could tell us a little bit about your path to coaching yourself.
Mm, I appreciate that question. So I think at the time you were at NYU and I was at Princeton, and I am a self-help junkie of sorts. And my path in general to leadership started a little over 20 years ago, where I really started working on myself. And a lot of that came about by reading books. A gentleman by the name of Shirzad Shamin had published a New York Times best-selling book called Positive Intelligence. And it caught my eye. I read the book, and either in the book or on his LinkedIn profile, it mentioned that Shirzad was the chairman and CEO of the organization called the Coaches Training Institute, where you and I both got some of our training. And I took the fundamentals coaching course on a whim after having read that book and really just wanting to incorporate coaching skills into my management and leadership style. That was what brought me to the more formal training. And then once I got involved with the workshops, I saw the possibility of coaching and developing leaders as a life purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm curious if you could go back to your experience in fundamentals today. What clicked with you? What set you on that path saying, I need to do a lot more of this and I'm going to invest
Yeah.
my time?
Well, as you may recall, and there's intimacy gets created in those workshops, affinity, friendship, closeness. And I remember showing up like in a suit with no tie, pretty formal. By the third day, I think I was wearing blue jeans and like a golf shirt like this. So and I also saw that I had some skill in this area. Like I could see that, and there was something else for me. Like I felt that what drew me to fundraising was relationships. And I had spent 10 years doing major gift fundraising. You and I share that kind of background, and as well as I do that you can develop very close relationships with people in a fundraising realm. Most people are like, oh, fundraising, close relation. Yeah, of course. And then I saw like, wow, this coaching thing is even more like you get so close to people, and I just wanted more of that in my life. And I could, my heart was opening up more. And so I could see that this was the direction to follow. It was more an intuitive feeling than it was any kind of rational analytical decision.
A little bit of a departure for an engineer, right?
Definitely. So what was it like working with me, knowing your own personality? And my personality can be a bit, much.
It's a big
for some.
personality.
It can be. I'm very, so like my style is very direct. I think you know that. And I have a way of calling people forth that, I'll have them confront their lives.
Yeah.
In a very strong, some people have said, I'm strong yet gentle.
Yeah, it's the jujitsu coach and there's the father. It's like it's both, right? So
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, what I really loved about working with you as my coach was the fact that you were a challenger. You didn't allow room for waffling. So when I retreat, I go into my analytical kind of shifting mind. Maybe it's this, maybe that's, oh, no, no, I'm going to go in the corner, I'm going to go think it out.
Mm.
But having someone who calls you to the mat and says, okay, we're going to hash this out, be here with me, and is
Mhm.
also supportive and caring and empathetic, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I am not afraid of a challenge. As you know, I used to be an amateur boxer. I like
Yep.
to play hard and I like a challenge, and I
Yep.
was up for it. So I think it just gives you an opportunity to grow in a different way when you open yourself up to new experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a coach, sometimes you don't even know your impact
Yeah.
because when you're the coach, your focus is like 100% on the client.
Mm.
And you might remember that from our training. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the topic that the client is focused on, and you're kind of focused on that topic, but you're really focused on the client and
Yeah,
his or
got to be
her
right
life.
there.
Yeah. And so as coaches, we don't always um, intentionally so. We have, you might remember from the coaching model, we have something called, self-management. So
Mhm.
we're in the coaching, but we're in it 100% leaning into the client. So we're not really evaluating or judging ourselves in the moment. And we're going to talk about that judge voice here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But other clients have said that I create a safe space for them to be challenged. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. That is apropos.
but that is the
So,
energy I have. I do challenge
yeah.
people. So if you're listening to this and you want to stay in your comfort zone, I am definitely not the coach for you. And definitely not.
Yeah, yeah,
Because, but if you're willing to get a little uncomfortable, then I am the coach because you can get uncomfortable and explore and try things, and I won't judge you.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what happens when people are willing to get uncomfortable? What
Well,
comes out
yeah.
of that?
Yeah, that's where the growth happens,
Mm.
right? So coaching is, you know, as distinct maybe from therapy or um, consulting. Coaching is a growth modality. So therapy
Mhm.
might be looking back at the past, can be very helpful to help collapse some things in your past if they're affecting you in the present. Therapy can
Mhm.
be very helpful for that. Consulting is even different in that you're hiring an expert in a particular topic to tell you how to do it. Well, coaches are not therapists and we're not consultants. We help clients grow and learn and sort of venture out on the skinny branches of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said. And I think that's a really important thing to bring up, how coaching is differentiated from therapy, how it's differentiated from consulting, because I still think that a lot of people out there aren't sure what coaching is
Hmm.
and who it can serve and what it can do. So
Hmm.
just putting it in that context of having the topic sit with the client, being in 100% service of the client, calling them forth, having them grow, and getting them into that uncomfortable zone where that major growth and transformation happens.
Hmm.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think accountability is also another major factor,
Well, accountability
right?
is a huge factor, and this is like you might think about coaching as if you were to hire a personal fitness coach in the gym to strengthen your physique, your body, your muscles. some of the work I'm doing now with clients is helping them with their mental fitness.
Ah,
Yeah.
tell me more about that.
Well, this is some of Shirzad's work from Positive Intelligence, and um, it's really the synthesis of several areas of science, neuroscience,
Hmm.
um, psychology, and performance science, along
Hmm.
with um, some coaching modalities that we're trained in. And so it's a synthesis of a lot of research. Shizard is a Stanford guy, and he's brought together all of this research and created an amazing sort of body of work that helps us understand how we sabotage ourselves in life,
Mm-hmm.
and um, how we can not sabotage ourselves.
Wait, we're
And
sabotaging ourselves?
well, yeah, well, you and I just kind
Yeah.
of you just took the saboteur assessment, right?
I
So what
did,
did you
yeah.
learn about yourself, that, or were you reminded of about yourself from that
Oh,
assessment?
yes.
The master saboteur is called the judge. We
Hmm.
all have this voice that judges other people, right, wrong, judges ourselves harshly when we make mistakes, uh, and judges circumstances um, as either good or bad.
Hmm.
So that's the master saboteur, and that's a voice that is there all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's these 9 other accomplices that he has defined in this work, which are pretty juicy too.
Hmm. So in those accomplices, my top one is da, 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 it's a stickler.
A
Who would
stickler.
have ever expected that? Mhm.
And some people say, well, perfectionism is good. Like, you should do things perfectly. By the way, sticklers would love for you to
Yes.
believe that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what's the cost? So there's a payoff with all these saboteurs. There's a payoff. Like, you get some payoff, like getting it right. That's a good thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even that's got judgment built into it, by the way. Getting it right. Who's to say?
That is true.
But the stickler will pile on top of that. And so what happens to you when your stickler is around? What's the impact?
Oh gosh. Well, I think on the positive side, it makes it gives me the ability to navigate a lot of complexity and to create products, proposals, projects that are successful. It enhances my chances of success, right? And it enhances my chances of achievement. When it goes into overload, it can be exhausting.
Yes,
It can
you
be
got it.
exhausting. Yeah.
There's always some good. I like what you said. The stickler early on in life had a purpose, you know,
Hmm.
especially if you come up in higher ed as you did, and you go to a very elite university where you are expected to get everything just so. Yeah. So the
Yes.
stickler has a purpose, and then it's just when it goes overboard, like when you're trying to create a business or an app that people can use, and you're
Mm.
trying to get it perfect.
Hmm.
Where as an entrepreneur, a stickler is actually not very helpful. I think you're finding.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to fail faster.
Yes. Right.
And if you're not actually failing, you're not learning.
You're
So,
not
yeah,
learning
that's
because you
the
never learn what works and what doesn't work.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good example for folks. And there are, we're going to put a link for folks who want to take a free assessment, um, at Positive Intelligence. It's, I don't know, 500,000 people have taken that assessment now. And it's well, documented, well proven. And I'm happy. I think we're going to make my debrief session available to folks if they want to actually debrief that assessment with me as a coach. Yeah.
And definitely take David up on his offer to do that. It's a fun assessment. You get to learn all about your little saboteurs, the puppet masters that live in your head.
Mhm.
And David is here to help you chat through them, to
Yeah.
identify where you want to make adjustments. So
Yes.
segueing from that, David, I'm curious, with the mental fitness program, where does the saboteur come into play, and how do you work with that with a client?
Excellent. Excellent. So the first step in, so if you think about this mental fitness program as like um, going to the gym to work out, you have to strengthen the muscles of the more positive ways of reacting to
Mm.
people and circumstances and yourself, and weaken these other voices, or at least intercept them. That's, we would say, like, intercept them. So uh, in the work we do with clients, is to notice when you're having like an afflictive emotion, like a negative emotion or a reaction. We would call it a reaction to a situation, a person, or yourself. And then
Mm-hmm.
is to sort of identify, okay, which saboteur is at work here? Is it the judge? Is it the stickler? Is it a combination? And then we have folks do exercises. And much of this is in Shirzad's book. So folks who want to just read the book as you did and I did, Positive Intelligence, they can do that. But what we do in the mental fitness program is actually have them practice intercepting the
Oh,
saboteurs. Yeah. And then shift to what we call sage mode, which is
oh, the
our
sage.
our wiser self. Yes. So Shirzad talks about 5 sage powers that are really when we're at our best self. And the
Mm.
one that I find most helpful is, he calls it empathize or compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, when I'm being harsh with myself, with my self-judge or my inner critic, I and we do some work like this in the program. I now have a photograph of when I was maybe 7 years old.
Oh.
When I had to ask my mom for it. It's like a black and white photo. There aren't many pictures of me when I was young. And like, you just remember who you were as a young kid and didn't have all this garbage,
Yeah.
and you empathize with yourself. And that
Mm-hmm.
starts to melt away that harshness. I'm giving one example. Or I do work with clients um, about opening up their hearts to other people. So
Mm.
when they're judging someone else harshly for having made a mistake, for example, um, we do work around empathizing or having compassion for other people. That starts to melt away uh, these behavioral patterns, these thinking patterns that actually
Wow.
sabotage relationships. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it. I love
yeah.
it. So,
So in the healthcare setting, for example,
yeah.
um, there's always a lot going on, you know, and people make mistakes, and there's a lot of action all the time, and it
Mm.
creates a lot of stress and a lot of judgment of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting to bring this work into the healthcare environment so that people can perform at their best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not burn out.
Yeah. Because burnout is a huge issue in the healthcare workforce today.
I will say this, like for serious depression, um, there are a lot, therapy can be very helpful,
Mm-hmm.
medication can be very helpful, and this program can be very helpful.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Um, yeah, it's a big
yeah.
and. But it could be that if listeners here are clinically depressed and need medication to the point where they could even engage in a program like this, then that would be a first step.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely speak with their licensed clinical psychologist if you're experiencing those symptoms.
Of
But
course.
coaching can be a wonderful added benefit once you're ready.
Many of my
Yeah.
clients work with their therapist in collapsing the past, and they work with me as their coach in creating the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful way of putting it, definitely.
Yeah.
So, David, thank you so much for coming on today, for telling us a little bit more about your path to coaching, your passion for coaching, your unique approach, and about this mental fitness program. And I know it will be of so much benefit to so many people out there. So
Great.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thank you, Lily.